We're in.
What in the crap?
Look at us. Already got 7 people in here. What's going on, guys? Sam Brown, Director of Performance here at elitefts, joining you live with Nate Harvey. Nate.
What's going on?
What's going on, everybody? Jumping into a live stream. This is kind of a last-minute thing that we threw together because Nate's out here filming some awesome stuff. And fun fact that the camera's there. So
yeah, I'm gonna do my best. I can see myself over there. It's like when you look at yourself in the mirror, you try to look over there and
you're looking jacked. Looking jacked. All right, so we'll wait a minute or two until more people are rolling through. We'll see what sort of questions come up. Any questions you guys may have, put them in the chat down below. Feel free to stoke it. Hey Joe, how we doing? Yeah, any questions you guys may have, drop them down below. As always, feel free to share, subscribe to the channel. We'll have plenty of coaches, plenty of content coming out in the next few weeks. Nate just spent the whole day filming with us, and we're really excited to be able to share that with you in the next coming weeks. First question in from Andrew. Oh, good, Andrew. Andrew. Why don't many conventional pullers use hook grip?
Probably because it's terrible.
It fucking hurts like a lot.
It hurts.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure that. I don't know. I haven't paid attention.
Yeah, I have baby bird hands, so it doesn't really help too much with the process.
I don't like when I hook grip. It hurts. Yeah. I kind of deal more so with. It feels like my thumb is going to come off of my hand. Yeah. Like I'm not joking. It feels like it's going to rip right out. But other than that, it sucks.
So basically, if you can do it. But if it hurts, well, it's going to hurt everybody. So, I mean, if you're just kind of into that thing. Tips for taller lifters. You've worked with, obviously, basketball athletes in the past. You've been a strength coach for 10 years. How would you kind of modulate what your training was for taller athletes?
Do what you can. Like, don't think you have to do everything the same as everyone else. You may not have to do the things that shorter lifters do. What's your main goal, I guess, is what I would say, and then train to obtain that. If you want to be a power lifter, then you're going to have to hit parallel. You're going to have to deal with some what you might say unfair leverages, but you got to kind of deal with it. That being said, like our taller, lankier athletes in the past always did well with box squats. For whatever reason, a yoke bar seemed to help those kids out. And it doesn't make sense because it makes their leverage even longer. You know what I mean? But for whatever reason, our taller kids seem to do better with a yoke bar than a straight bar squat. And just for example, another quick thing, like rack pulls seem to work real well with beginners, teaching them how to strain. You know what I mean? Because like a squat, the leverages aren't there and they just fold over real easy. For whatever reason, they can kind of hang in there and do a better job with the rack pulls.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I've utilized with taller athletes in the past is elevated trap bar. It's just another kind of a tool in the toolbox that we can utilize for, just 6 foot and a higher, right? Because whatever I say is like anybody higher than 6 feet's a freak. So
they're cheating.
All right, what do we got?
Can we jump over to the Instagram chat for a split second? How often to perform heavy singles on the main lifts each month?
Oh, this is right in Nate's wheelhouse.
It depends. Where's I hate to say that all the time. How advanced are you? If you're a newer lifter, kind of in your prime, just not that banged up, you can do it, maybe 6 weeks in a row and then take a week off. If you're kind of a more seasoned veteran, you might not be able to do it that often. So it's really going to depend your experience level, where you're at in your season. Some different athletes can singles in season, and be okay. But a football player who goes and puts himself through a car wreck every weekend may not want to do true max effort work week in and week out. Maybe once a month. You got to kind of scale it to who you're working with, really.
Yeah, and you're going to find a lot with these answers that anybody on the live will do around here. Like, it's always going to depend. It's going to depend on the goals. It's going to depend on if we were working with you in person, we depend on your injury history. It depends on what sports you play, whatever, right? So give as much background information about you specifically as you can, and we can do a better job of kind of honing in on what the answer it is you're looking for.
All right, let's jump back to the YouTube.
Sure.
I think this is probably, how do you guys find daily undulating periodization for powerlifting?
How do we find it?
I think, what do you think about it?
Google it.
I don't know. Find what works for you. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many different training systems out there. Try it for a solid 10, 12 weeks and kind of see how things go. And then, you know, I like to change things up. I get bored very easily. I think athletes get bored very easily in the weight room.
Yeah.
The kind of the more variation and changing you have, I think the better. But that's me and the population I've worked with.
Yeah. What I've seen a lot with some people that jump into the daily undulating periodization is they're really just saying that they want to do less work some days. Right? Like it's like, I'm undulating. It's like, oh, you're kind of being a lazy piece of shit. That's a little bit different than undulating periodization, right? So I guess you could look at a lot of different types of programming as undulating periodization. It's like you have harder days, you have easier days, and you know, just kind of go from there. But again, when they said is rings true regardless, is if you're going to do something, stick to it for 10 weeks, 12 weeks, like give it time to work and then kind of form your own opinion on it for sure.
Real quick, Sam, can you plug the super chat? It looks like the YouTube chat is moving pretty quick.
Absolutely. So for our YouTube members here that are in the chat, down below, you're going to find what's called a super chat. It's a great way to support Elite FTS, support us, support the coaches, athletes, everybody involved with the process of making this content, making all of this information, and making sure it gets out to the most people as possible. If you find it in your heart, feel free to donate, feel free to utilize it. It is there, and it's a great way for us to see your comment, come up to the top of the list, and we will answer that specifically. So, all right, next question. Let's see.
Oh, look at that.
Look at that.
He sent us a butt emoji.
Yeah. Johnson Benjamin, thank you very much for that super chat, and it looks like a butt. So fantastic.
Some glute training.
The power of the butt. All right, next question. What do we got?
We'll go from YouTube again.
YouTube again with a good question.
Thoughts on single movement for conjugate and like for supplemental working accessories?
Yeah, Nate, let's you have jump into that.
Sure. I definitely think you should do some single leg work. In the past, I've gotten into patterns where we didn't program it enough, probably looking back. But don't overdo it too. It's like a lot of things. There's too much of a good thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can see some programs jump into too much one direction. So to give a really simple answer, do about 1 day a week with your single leg stuff, maybe 2. Don't crush yourself with it. You don't have to have 3, 4 accessories that are all single leg to make your programming more athletic.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Put a little bit in there, kind of take out the imbalances, work on the hip mobility and stuff, and you'll probably be good.
Yeah, and a lot of the current programming that I've seen in the past, again, that single leg stuff is important. But again, if you're an athlete, you have to realize that your training is going to vary from whatever time of the year you're in, preseason, postseason, in-season, whatever it is. So again, take that into consideration as well. Kenyon Phillips, thank you very much for that super chat. Truly appreciate that. So let's keep moving.
Let's jump over to the Instagram real quick.
Questions. Here we go.
How much would you vary the height of the box squat?
Ooh.
Not very much.
Yeah.
For just go to parallel. You know, if you're a powerlifter, for the most part, work at parallel. If you're an athlete, you can work a little bit above that and be okay. You know, maybe if you're a powerlifter and you're beat up and going to parallel all the time is hurting you, maybe vary it a little bit. But for, I think, 95% of the people, just go to parallel. Yeah, it's going to put you where you need to be.
Absolutely.
Oh, this guy gave us $10.
Wow. Thank you very much, Bester. What is it? Beater
car.
Beater car.
Nice,
I love it, man. That's awesome. Thank you very much for that super chat. I have a strange situation. I recently kind of tweaked my lower back squatting, but I refuse to stop training legs. Good man. I'm still progressing. Safety squat bar. Good mornings. Should I stop and wait to heal or continue? Do you want to do this one?
Talk to your doctor.
Yeah.
Right? Speak to a professional. Don't do things that hurt. There's tons of things out there you can do that you can still train lower body, like you're saying. I like your attitude. But don't be married to certain exercises. You can do lots of things and still keep your lower body strong. We had our national champion shot putter years ago. Couldn't squat basically the last 3 months going into nationals, and still won. There was a lot of other things you can do. For him it was like a quad tendonitis issue. So lighter lunges were okay. Belt squat marches, lots of pulls for his max effort work. And kind of keep them in the game. So if it hurts, don't do it. Let yourself heal for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of piggybacking on that a little. Take some time and figure out what the hell is going on, right? If that's the exercise that causes you the pain, send some footage into your coach, or you got to really figure out what the reason is for that potential injury or ache and pain, and just stop doing it, right? Because it could be just a technique thing, right? You never really know. But again, talk to your doctor if it really, really hurts. All right.
Is that Euros?
It is. Bailey Hawking, thank you very much for that super chat. Very, very appreciative. Question is, I struggle to sit straight down in the squat. I tend to lean forward a bit. Something too weak or something helps so I can sit straight down? Nate?
That might be how you should squat. Without seeing a video, it's very hard to tell, but it's okay to have a little bit of lean. Part of the stress reflex in the glutes is hip flexion. So if there's a little bit of lean, and that's how you tap into your glutes, that's okay. If you're leaning too far forward, you start getting dumped over. The way to kind of tell is watch your squat from a side, get a video from the side, and then you want your path straight up and down, and that's going to help you determine, obviously, I think if you can be more upright, you're typically not going to get dumped forward as much. But just depending on your biomechanics and your leverages and stuff, you may not be able to be completely vertical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a huge benefit to filming your sets, especially your heavier stuff, because you may feel something, but objectively from a camera's view, you may be doing something completely different. So I would get some footage and check that out. Joe Hill, thank you very much for that super chat. Very, very cool. Thank you very much. And thanks for the tips here and email. Yes, yep. So guys, Joe Hill here sent me an email, sbrown@elitefts.net. He had some training questions. Feel free to shoot those over to me. I answer as many as I possibly can. I really want to help you guys with your training as much as I can in this position. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to shoot them over to me as well. Sean Murphy, thank you very much as well. Guys, we were really, really appreciative of all of these super chats. And his question is, tips for lifters who have had back surgery in the past. I have scoliosis and had a spinal fusion 5 years ago. Do you have any history with that?
We've had athletes with scoliosis and basically, kind of like we talked about before, do things that don't hurt. You know what I mean? That's not to say you can't squat. You may be okay. I've had kids that were okay squatting with fractured vertebrae. Bother them. So you gotta kind of play around and find out what doesn't exacerbate your problem.
Yeah, as always, it depends. It depends on the situation for sure. If you have any Instagram questions, we'll hop over there.
Do you think the football bar has much carryover to the straight bar and bench?
Depends on your weakness. You know what I mean? Or I will say this. I had a partially torn rotator cuff and I basically ran all my speed work with a football bar and was able to go and I was able to lift at my knee. I didn't do real well, but I was able to stay within 90% on all my max upper body stuff. So there is a lot of value to it. And I think for most people, it will help bring your bench up. Most people have weak triceps. So I think for a lot of, and it'll take some stress off your shoulders. So I think for 90% of the people, it'll probably help your bench if you program it right.
Perfect. Let's see. Any other on Instagram before we hop over?
16 weeks out, how many weeks of hypertrophy work should be done? Presumably from a powerlifting meet, let's assume.
It depends. You want to hit him with that again?
I mean,
It depends.
you've got to keep it in there. You're gonna. I think no matter what periodization you're running, there's some hypertrophy in the program. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's not like, even if I'm on a linear thing, it's not like I'm doing only
That's-
2s,
it's-
3s.
It's accessory work, right?
Right, it's
That's
accessory
what
work.
you need.
So yeah, I mean, keep it in there, and as you get closer to your meet, it's still going to be there, but the emphasis is going to be on your heavier singles, or, you know, depending on what program you're on, it's going to be geared more towards the meet. But there's still, don't dump the accessories or your hypertrophy work. That's what Louis used to say. You know, we live on accessory work. That's what got you there. Don't abandon it.
Right, absolutely. What is that name?
IJRE Buck. Jerry.
IJRE Buck with the super chat. Thank you very much. I have low back issues as a result from a previous MCL tear that chain reacted to hip issues. When I try reverse hypers, I notice a sharp pain in my tailbone area. Any experience with this?
No, not specifically. Most, in my experience, most distal problems are a proximal issue. So,
yeah.
Did you get on those
Oh,
syllables?
shit.
Caffeine's working.
Yeah.
So more likely than not, it was a hip issue that caused the MCL thing to happen originally. Most of the time when I've seen pain in the tailbone area, don't let the reverse hyper pull you under quite so much. Use less momentum. Try to do a little more. Don't let it, you know, stretch you out in the bottom quite so much. Try that. Try to take some weight off, and don't let it stretch you so much or pull your feet under so much in the machine. It might alleviate that. If that doesn't work, I don't know.
Yeah.
Go see your doctor.
Yeah, I would definitely go check in with your doctor for sure. But like, again, this is most of the time out of my scope of a strength coach. But take some time and really kind of focus in to make sure your glutes are doing glute things, right? Because if you're not getting adequate glute activation, and you're going to find all sorts of issues, not activation, but like just your glutes being utilized properly. I would say a lot of hip issues, you know, kind of helped with some more direct glute need, you know, everything like that. So let's see. Thank you for the question, by the way. Thank you for that super chat. Really appreciate it. Let's see. You want to go Instagram here?
This is a good one. Is it typical to spend an hour in max effort and 30 minutes in supplemental?
No. Get your ass moving. No, I'm just fucking with you. No, the max effort work shouldn't take it unless you have a big crew. I mean, that's,
yeah.
Or if you're in gear, it's going to take a lot longer. But it should, an hour
That's
on
a
just the
lot.
max effort stuff.
That's
You
a
know,
lot.
in general, I'll say this. In general, probably shouldn't take that long. You should half hour, 45 minutes, and then typically the accessory work's going to take you a little longer because there's so much more volume and stuff going on. The way I like to do it, and the way we used to do with our athletes, just kind of run it like speed work. So like if you're going, like we're training together, you go, change the weight, I'm going to hop on the same thing and just kind of roll through. And then once it starts to get heavier, then we'll take a little bit longer and get a little more rest built in.
Yeah.
And then even as you're getting closer to your meet, or closer to, if I'm a track kid, getting closer to my real big meet, same thing, stretch it out a little more and give us a little more recovery.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Let's see.
Just roll up a little bit.
Yeah.
I feel less stable squatting with a wide stance through the hips, so I always squat at narrower tips to build better stability.
Squatting with wide stance. Narrow. Okay, so you're you're unstable out wide, right?
Yeah.
Just work into it slow, right? Yeah. Don't. Here's what I see commonly with people. They will try to run a conjugate for powerlifting, raw powerlifting. They'll do these really wide box squats, and then they think they can take the box out and go out wide right away. And the hips aren't that strong. You have to work your way out to that, you know. So if you pull that box out of there, kind of start with that medium stance, and then as the hips build up and get stronger, then you can move your feet out.
Yeah, definitely building up over time, not just throwing yourself into the deep end of the widest squat you possibly can. It's a good way to shoot your adductors across the room.
Yeah, especially if you're raw. Which I'm guessing he's not wearing any gear.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Oh, Chad, how we doing, bud? Nice to see a familiar face in here. Let's see. What strength program should I implement as an amateur boxer who can't lift as frequently as powerlifters? It's very
Conjugate,
sporty.
bro.
Yeah.
What else is there? How would you even ask that?
It answers itself.
Yeah. No, I mean,
That's like a sport specific question. It's like, okay, how do I get stronger, better at my sport if I'm competing in my sport and still need to lift?
Right. Yeah, just I mean, fit in what you can. You know what I mean? What do you say? He's a boxer.
A boxer can't lift as frequently as powerlifters. Well, powerlifting, like lifting, is their sport, right? So they're going to be handling the bar more often than not, right?
Right.
It's not like they're a powerlifter that throws in boxing.
Right.
It's their sports in the gym, so of course you're not going to be lifting.
As much as you shouldn't have to. Just
figure
out where you're lifting. Like, let's say your lifting's here, just bump it up to here. You know what I mean? Just improve on it a little bit, and then see how your body reacts. And then if you think, strength is what you actually need to be a better boxer, continue to raise that up.
Perfect.
Quick pre-workout snack for a moderate workout.
Wendy's chicken sandwiches. That was pretty good.
I would say Wendy's or McDonald's for every pre-workout. It doesn't matter what moderate, high intensity.
Excessive caffeine usually rolls through there at some point.
And Gatorade if you're going high intensity.
Yeah,
for sure.
How do you know when you're lifting too much? At what point are you throwing too much volume at your body?
If you can't lift it anymore.
This is actually I think monitor your sleep, your mood. Are you starting to have trouble falling asleep at night? Your appetite. Pay attention to that. Your appetite will kind of decrease, and kind of your general overall mood. If you're starting to get cranky all the time and stuff, for me, those are things that if I know I'm throwing too much at myself, those things kind of creep in, and
and those aches and pains too, right? If you're starting to notice that elbows are achy, knees, hips, and maybe time to start backing down a little bit.
Yeah. I've found that I like to train higher volume. I think that most people, over the years, I've kind of found if I wave it, that helps. Like week 1, I'll hit like 3 sets. Week 2, 4 sets, and this is my accessory stuff. And then maybe 3, I'll let myself blow it out and hit 6 sets on everything, and it kind of waves it that way. And that way. Because if I don't do that, I'll do 6 sets all the time and just, until I'm smoked.
Yeah.
So if you monitor it and kind of wave it, it should help you.
All right.
What are your favorite movements to build thoracic extension for sumo pullers?
My favorite?
Thoracic extension.
I don't really do much. We kind of did that good morning. That rolled over good morning with a yoke bar. That's good. I don't really train it specifically.
Yeah. I mean, thoracic extension, if you're able to understand, if you're unable to get into the position to pull sumo effectively, I mean, you may have to start implementing some soft tissue work, some just awareness of where your body is in space. Simple foam rolling, simple like T-spine rotations, kind of open up that area a little bit for, just for better mobility. But if you're finding that if you can get into that position and pull effectively, I think you've reached the amount of mobility that you really need.
Right. And I think just any general program, like pretty sound program, will address the thoracic extension.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For the most part. And then once you get up to a higher level, you may find that, okay, I've pinpointed this specific weakness where I'm getting rolled over and stuff. So I actually need to train that.
Yeah. And really differentiating if it's your ability to get into thoracic extension versus your ability to stabilize your position. So it may be more of a muscular weakness as opposed to like a mobility issue for sure.
Right.
All right. Hi, guys. I'm struggling with bringing unracked bar to my starting point and bench. Some advice. So basically advice for an unrack.
Get out of the bench shirt.
That's funny. Damn shirts. Just in general, make sure your shoulders stay back. We have a couple videos up on, I think, on our channel somewhere where Dave talks about pulling the bar out of the rack with your lats. And most people want to push on it and lift it up and they roll that shoulder out. But you really need to stay back and, like he says, like pull it with the lat. That's why all of our racks have the really low J cup on there on the front lip.
And they're all scratched to shit.
Yeah, they're all beat up. Another thing I've heard that works is your shoulder will be dug into the bench. So to unrack it, don't push out of your shoulder, but tricep extension it out. That kind of helps me. I have a really hard time with that lat thing. It just, for whatever reason, doesn't work in my brain. So I've always just kind of like push out on the bar and tricep extension it out. And that, I think Vinny used to talk about that. Do it, skull crusher it out. Just swing your elbow and get it out there.
Makes sense.
That'll help you stay back where you should.
All right.
How to train lower with badly sprained ankle.
Are we going to get into ankle mobility here?
Or what?
I mean, if it's a badly sprained ankle, it's obviously inflamed and hurt. So just back off until your ankle's better.
Cut it off.
That's
Just from the knee, really.
Just like that. Cut your leg off. Go to your nearest butcher shop.
Sharp knife. Bite down wooden spoon.
Yeah, just let it heal up. If you got to lay off heavy squats for a couple weeks because your ankle hurts, you're not going to fall too far behind. It might actually help you.
Yeah.
You know, most people could use a little break. So let that heal up and then get back at it, or do stuff that doesn't hurt.
Right. All right. Let me just do a little quick shout out. Guys, just remember, feel free to share out the link for this live. Share it with your friends, family, enemies, whoever you want. We're trying to get more people involved here, get more people introduced to what we're doing here at Elite FTS. And as always, feel free, if you have the kindness in your heart, there's a super chat down there at the bottom. We have super stickers as well. I can't imagine the super stickers that are in there. I'm sure they would piss Dave off if he was here. Luckily enough, he is not. All right. What do we got? Good question.
Got some Conjugate you guys in here. That's cool.
Nice. All right. All right.
Best knee wrap technique for maximum stiffness.
We have a couple videos. That's a hard one to do. Like, just explain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We have some videos up.
elitefts.com.
elitefts.com, our YouTube channel. Just real, if you start with the knee wraps wound up kind of tight, that will help. So take some slack out of them. So when you're wrapping them, that's kind of probably thing a lot of beginners don't do. You know what I mean? They just start with a loose wrap, and then it's hard to pull it tight. So
wrapping themselves too.
Yeah.
Have somebody else wrap.
Yes.
If you can.
When did you both fall in love with lifting and training?
I thought I was going to say with each other. It's been a few years.
At first sight.
Well, you should have seen what he did with that lacrosse ball today. Holy shit. It's going to be on our OnlyFans.
I can remember being like 4 years old, and like all the athletes that I thought were cool, like the big freaky guys. Like I had a older cousin who played basketball, and I was like, there was somebody else on the team was like my favorite player because he's a big jack dude, you know what I mean? And so it was kind of, and I started training when I was 12, and just the superhero thing or whatever a lot of people talk about. From, for as long as I can remember, I was like, that's what I want to do and kind of be like,
Yeah, it really started in middle school for me. Just about the same age. I was playing baseball at the time, and I wanted to be big and strong like Mark McGuire. Didn't realize he had assistants. But no, that was kind of the turning point for me. I was like, oh, strength is like a cheat code, right? Like it's
right.
Kind of like
I see what you mean. That's where those forearms came from.
Boom!
Baseball.
That's it.
Baseball forearm guys.
No, but it's true. Like it started off to get better at baseball. Then you just, like most baseball guys that I've trained, like, you just turn into a meathead and you love lifting.
I found that with like a lot of baseball guys. Like,
Yeah.
they're meatheads
Yeah.
for sure.
Total
Cool.
meatheads.
Is work important for a big bench?
Did you used to implement that much overhead work?
No.
No.
But that's kind of a loaded, like, it's one of those depends things. You know, I've got a relatively high bench without doing much overhead work. Could I have gotten a higher bench if I did more? I don't know. My shoulders always they always kind of did not feel good doing overhead stuff. You know, maybe if I would have found different variations, I could have benched more and would have healthier shoulders now. I don't know. It's very possible. But I'm sure I would say this, for a raw bencher, it's probably more important than a geared lifter, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, being a strongman competitor, I've always done more overhead work than benching. My bench isn't even that impressive, but it's allowed me to kind of keep my bench where I haven't lost any round with benching when I focus specifically on overhead work. So,
does direct back work matter? I row and chin up more than my group, but they smoke my bench and deadlift.
Yes, it matters, absolutely. But they smoke my bench and DL.
Well, who's your group?
Right? Yeah, that could be. I mean, who's he training with? His leverages could be way different.
Yeah. You know, like years of experience, like it. Just
keep doing the back work is what I would say.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
No matter where you're at.
Overhead press does do dick for my bench. All right, and cut it out.
Yep.
There you
go. We laugh, but like a lot of people won't figure that out. You know what I mean? So,
it's like, oh, this thing doesn't work. Stop doing it.
Get it out.
Yeah.
Have you tried power pole? Is this a joke question?
I'm not going to Google that.
Well, that's the Voga pole harness. It's like a searcher harness with the
massive
weight peg out in
weight
front.
peg. That's where
I know what you were going to say. Weight peg. I have not tried it. It looks pretty miserable.
Yeah.
I don't know how you could use it consistently and not get stronger. It looks pretty solid, but I have, like I said, I haven't.
Yeah, no personal experience with that.
Quick, easy one. What's your best recovery routine?
Eating, sleeping, not lifting.
Sleep. Get more sleep.
Yeah, sleep for sure. You don't realize how important sleep is and not sleeping.
Yep. Off the computer.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot more taxing than people think. And there's a lot of things that are more taxing than people think. You know, I used to like coaching. You're in the weight room. You got to be on all freaking day long. You got to
be watching everybody doing everything, making sure no one's gonna die.
Right. For me, driving smokes me because you got to be alert and aware and pay attention. You know, but sleep would be
I would focus in on it, and those are like the low hanging fruit, right? Like those are the things that everybody's like, oh, it's just so simple. That can't be the answer. It's like, well, just sleep more. I would try that.
Yeah.
This is like the fourth time this guy has asked this. What's the best way to improve your walkout on equipped squats? Seems like a weird question.
Don't use a monolith.
I would say, why in the heck? I mean,
yeah,
that sounds miserable. But there's people that don't have monolift or monolift hooks.
But if you're interested in monolift hooks, check out elitefts.com.
Yeah, yep. Not on the site yet, but we can hook you up.
There you go.
We know a guy. Just practice. Get as efficient as you can with it. If you get real good, you can do it without a walkout. You can kind of arch the bar out. But it sucks. It's terrible. You're a better man than I for doing that.
Yeah, that doesn't sound fun at all.
No.
What's your favorite way to relieve tight, sore hips and IT band after squatting?
Oh, we just made a video. Kind of touched on this
a little bit today. I'm a big Grasson. I have my own tool, and I kind of get in there. I don't recommend that. Should be left up to a professional. But
I just use the old Crisco and butter.
There you go. You somehow roll out. X-Life works really good. Massage guns are okay for me. But yeah, some sort of tissue work seems to work best for me.
Yeah, what I've noticed for me personally is light movement, right? Just kind of just adding some form of active recovery into what you were doing, even if it's just walking, right? You just kind of get some blood flow on the days that you're not training hard.
All right.
Oh, core question. There you go.
Cool.
All right. What do we got? What do we got? I mean, which one are you thinking?
We'll do this one, and then YouTube's blowing up. Sam, do you want to plug the super chat again?
Yeah, absolutely, guys. If you're on the YouTube, check out the super chat function at the bottom of the chat window. It's the way that you can directly support Elite FTS, the table talks, the lives, all the content. It's a great way to do that. Super simple, and we appreciate it more than you know. So if you have the option, please do so. But
and if you have a question you really want answered,
yeah, and that's a great way to get our attention on a question or something you want us to directly address. So feel free to do that.
I think this is a decent one. How many accessory exercises do you hit on a max effort day? I only usually have time for 3 to 4. Is that enough? And what's the ratio of compound lifts to single joint accessories?
He's got it. 3 to 4, maybe 5.
Pretty good.
If you're going to go with 6, you're probably getting into some smaller exercises that aren't too taxing. So yeah, I mean, you're right there. Unless you're really young and really inexperienced and need a ton of volume to kind of build some tissue, you could go more. But I think you're right there. And then, like you kind of mentioned, your main barbell lift, and then your secondary, and then your 3 to 4 or 5, maybe 6.
Sounds like you read the book. What book? Conjugate You. Found it on elitefts.com.
Excellent plug right there.
See that?
Smooth.
What's
up, Danny?
Get some
yes.
in there.
What up? What up?
Sam, do you want to take this one?
I don't know what that is.
All right. No, Nate. No.
Oh, we can't see that.
No, it's fine. It's fine. You're good.
I seriously have no idea.
Okay, we'll tell you after the stream's over.
I'm bleeding ignorance. I'm the old guy. I don't know what all this shit is.
Theo Schmidt with the super chat. Thank you very much. The question is, if you had only 1 day per week to train, life reasons, what would you train and why? I'd probably adjust my life reasons.
Yeah.
First, that sounds like a stupid cop-out, but I would be like, okay, what in life? It's like if you're in Guantanamo Bay or some shit, they're like, oh, only 1 training day a week. It's like, ah, fuck, okay. But no, I would probably reassess what it is I'm doing in my life that warrants only 1 day to train a week. But if I had to, I would incorporate some pressing, some squatting, some hinging, some you know what I mean? I just kind of do the main lifts and kind of reduce the amount of accessories and just kind of focus in on the big stuff, most bang for the buck. But I don't know.
I agree.
I think this is actually a good point of clarification. What's the difference between secondary and accessories?
It's really just like terminology in my mind. So you have your max effort or your dynamic effort. So that would be your primary. That's going to be your first barbell lift of the day. And then your secondary is, or supplemental, is your next big barbell movement. And then after that is accessories. Like I said, it's really kind of a play on words. You know, you could count that second or your supplemental as accessory work, but it's, you know,
Yeah, no.
it's your smaller exercises that are easier to perform, less taxing, kind of bring up weak areas with.
Perfect. Matthew Peterson, thank you very much for the super chat. Much appreciated.
And I think Danny has a question in the Instagram. Can Nate speak to how Conjugate may need to be modified for the bodybuilding athlete, if much at all?
Solid question.
So Conjugate bodybuilding.
Solid question.
She should be here to answer.
Yeah,
that.
no shit.
Danny, you're more jacked than I am. So it's that's what's cool to me. That's what's cool about the system. You really can do a lot with it. So you can kind of pick out. So like bodybuilding. So you can kind of pick out your weak muscle groups by just appearance, and then you can really kind of hammer those home. you know, so you can kind of pull emphasis from other things and just stick it where you need it in your training. I'm almost like, I'm picturing like a clay model in my head, you know what I mean? Like, my shoulders are behind, but my quads are way ahead of everything else. I could take emphasis from there and stick it on here, you know what I mean?
That was deep.
That was deep.
That was deep. Chad Ferrier with the super. Oh, Chad, our man.
What's up, dude?
Y'all are awesome. Keep it up. Blah, blah, blah. Oh yeah, Chad, man. Like, huge fan of seeing coaches and athletes that we know in the chat. Much appreciated. Hope things are well with you and the fam. I see he just squatted 600 pounds on like a deload the other day.
Really?
Yeah, he's like deloading. I'm like, okay, what the? Okay, cool. Nicely done, Chad.
You guys want to do like a 5-minute warning here?
Yeah, we'll do 5 more minutes here. And if you have any questions, feel free to put them in, and we'll get to them. Bench 395 with a fat bar, so I'm feeling good today. Nicely done, Coach. Nicely done.
Oh, here's a good one. If you could only do one secondary accessory exercise for each of the power lifts, what would they be based on your experience, and what works for most people most of the time?
Great question. Most people most of the time.
Oh yeah, good. Thanks for specifying. For squat, I would probably do we gotta pick one. I would cheat and rotate a good morning on one week and do a pull variation on the next.
Wow.
And then for bench, close grip variation.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Nicely done. So efficient.
Does he know that he looks like Dave Bautista?
Sorry, Dave Bautista. I usually get Brad Pitt, but all right.
All right.
How often would you recommend Amraps, and what percentages?
You answered that question earlier today, more or less.
Oh yeah. So here's that's a good, that kind of brings up something.
That's why I'm here.
Sometimes. So like in programming, like with a main movement, if you're younger and not as beat up, you can do them more often. Okay, you can hit your max effort and then bring it down to a percentage and just knock out some reps. You can do that every week. If you're an older, more experienced, kind of seasoned, worn out veteran, maybe once a month on that. Something I was talking to my training partner about this last week. Something I used to do that worked really well on our accessory stuff. Every last set of each movement would do Amrap. You know what I mean? So like a good guideline to follow. This will help anybody on your accessory stuff. On all of your first few sets, just go to positive failure, like where your form starts to break down and stuff. And then on that last set of each movement,
hit the gas.
just fucking hammer it.
Hit the gas. Good. Let's do a couple Instagram questions. We saw that I can't get to my question because you DM me the answer. Let's see.
He did have a question up here. Hey, quick question. If I'm starting a 5x5 5-week plan, can I use my straight bar or can I use my camber bar?
Yes.
They'll both work.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
100%.
Cool. If you're talking like for powerlifting, if you're going to run that going into a meet, start getting back to the straight bar closer to the meet so you're more used to that stimulus.
Yeah.
Having trouble off the chest on bench, what would help the most?
Dumbbell work. Just build up some volume, build up pecs and shoulders. Just very general and simple answer.
Yeah,
most people probably throw in some more dumbbells.
Oh, for sure. I mean, if you wanted to do like dead stop bench or something, or pause bench, just kind of spend more time in that position, really focus in on your stability when you're holding that bar close to your chest. Yeah, that's what I would say.
All right. This guy wants to know, I don't want to go away from my main lifts, but my mobility is shit. So how can I butt mobility into my rest days and my DE and max effort days? Sorry for my English.
Hey man, no problem. Your English is better than mine. So that's fine.
That's two of us. I mean, just build in a little more. If you're doing it 2 days a week,
just do anything more than you're doing is gonna give you results.
Yep. And then slowly add it in until your mobility is where you need it. A lot of people make the mistake of doing mobility just for the sake of doing it.
And they go on one side of the spectrum versus the other, right? Yeah, incorporate it into what you're doing. Just add a little bit more. Mobility is shit. Nice.
Jam and come.
Nice,
All
nice,
right.
nice.
Do we want to take one more and
Yeah,
then
we'll
wrap
take
up?
one more. Let's go. I'll do this last one there.
Sure. Favorite testers and builders for the big three, like testing with chains without actually maxing out. Builders, I like Good Morning. I talked about Good Mornings. That's kind of like my go-to after max effort, a Good Morning or a pull variation. So that's a 3 to 5. For the bench, board work after my speed work in the 3 to 5 range seems to work best. And those would be kind of real, yeah. Testers are all over the place. You know what I mean? Like one day it feels good, and but then like you might PR on that tester and then go to the meet and do shit.
Yeah.
So it's I'm not a big testers are different for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Some people it's floor press, some people it's incline press. It's going to vary all the time. It's hard to. I don't pay much attention to the testers. Just train and go to the meet.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. All right, guys. Thank you very much for checking this out. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email, sbrown@elitefts.net. I will try to get them as soon as I can. Thank you for Nate Harvey to come out here, filming some of this stuff and jumping into the compound and creating this content that we're going to be putting out on our YouTube, our Instagram, all over the place. And as always, thank you guys very much for checking this out, and we will see you in the next one.
All right. Peace.
Later.